Hi there. New property listings in the UK are up 14% on August of 2023. And I already reported that more people are inquiring about buying a property this summer in response maybe to lower interest rates and maybe because it's summer, maybe pent up demand. But it does surprise me that the activity has grown so much in light of the economic gloom that we see. This picture of economic gloom painted by the Prime Minister, Sir Starmer, and Rachel Reeves, the UK Chancellor of the Exchequer. They're actually painting this picture of things are going to get tougher. I remember when Tony Blair came to power, the last Labour government who won an outright election in 1997, and his theme tune was "Things Can Only Get Better." You remember that song by Dream, "Things Can Only Get Better," and they're all in this rally, all sort of doing this, and you had cool Tony, Tony Blair, I'm cool, look at me. And then you had John Prescott looking a bit uncomfortable, going, trying to sort of move along with it. He looked really uncomfortable. But basically there was euphoria because Tony Blair was this messiah who's coming to save them, and everyone felt good. And it did give that, the country had a good feeling about the country, cool Britannia and all that sort of thing. And people were lifted. And as I said, his theme was "Things Can Only Get Better." Kier Starmer, on the other hand, is "Things Can Only Get Worse." Things can only get worse. Things can only get worse. Oh no, that's not a song. But that's what he's saying. I mean, he's saying that the budget will be, and I quote, painful. A painful budget. Oh my God. And he's saying this. He's talking about tax rises. In questions asked by Beth Rigby at a press conference, she said, will you rule out rises in inheritance tax, rises in capital gains, and no, he didn't say capital gains, he said rises in inheritance tax and a wealth tax? He refused to answer. He just said, you'll have to see in the budget. Rachel Reeves was asked today by Sky TV, or was it, anyway, but she was asked by a journalist, and she was in Scotland at a high-tech factory in Glasgow, and he asked, will you rule out increases to capital gains tax, to inheritance tax? And again, she just refused. She said, well, you'll have to wait for the election. But when they refuse to rule out something, when they refuse to deny that it's going to happen, normally that means it's probably going to happen. Now, taxes could be a wealth tax. It could be some sort of tax on your property, tax on your overall wealth. We don't know yet. But this has been mooted by people in the party. That would be disastrous. These are people that have built up their properties, maybe bought a house, they've saved up to buy a house, they've paid their mortgage over the years, they've paid all their other taxes, they've paid stamp duty, and they've taken the burden off the state to find a house. They're not saying, "Oh, find someone for me to live." They're going out and doing it and buying their own place, and now they could be taxed on this wealth, so-called wealth. And they put it that he said, we want people who've got the broadest shoulders to bear the burden. Now, when they say broadest shoulders, that doesn't mean they're going after the people who go to the gym and pump iron every day. No, the broadest shoulders is a metaphor for saying those are the people that can sort of carry the weight of a higher tax, and then give it to the people with the narrow shoulders, people who can't. Well, that sounds like he's taken from the people who worked hard, built up wealth, bought their houses, saved to buy their house, or started a business, or had a buy-to-let property, borrowed, took risks, remortgaged their house to buy a property, to then invest and provide housing for people. And then they're going to hit them with maybe a wealth tax, maybe higher capital gains, and then when you die, higher inheritance taxes. And then what are they giving this money to? Train drivers who are on 70,000 a year because they need a pay rise, right? Because they're on strike. No, because they're in the union, they're on strike. And the union are the Labour Party's paymasters. They fund the Labour Party. And, it just seems, it's just a typical thing, robbing from the rich to give to the poor. And I don't mind paying some tax, but we're taxed left, right and centre. From the minute we're born to when we die, we're just part of the tax system. So that's what they're talking about, right? They're talking about painful budget. Things have to get worse before they get better, and yet people are out saying, well, we're going to buy houses. Great, good luck to you if you buy these houses. Great. Now, I read another statistic today that house purchases are, a lot of the house purchases are being funded by a new bank. It's called the Family Bank, right? Okay, I'm jesting. It's not some challenger bank. Well, it is in a way, because the Family Bank is family members giving deposits and helping to fund property purchases from their children or grandchildren. And it's now a fact, according to Legal and General, that 42% of all house buyers by under age 55 are funded by some sort of family bank contribution. 9.2 billion, and that's set to rise by 2026 to 11 billion. 11 billion, or now at the moment, 9 billion pounds are going in to property purchases. It's coming down from the family, okay? And it is actually now, the average contribution is 27,400. 335,000 of these purchases were funded by this family bank. It's astounding. Where's this money coming from? Well, I don't think they've always got that money sitting around. Some of it's coming from their pension pot. So they're depriving themselves of pensions to help their kids get on the property ladder. Some of it's coming from cashing in ISAs. Again, that's their savings for their retirement. But a lot of people are increasingly remortgaging or doing what's called an equity release on their property. It's up to, if you take them both combined, it's 12% of the total, doing equity release or remortgaging to then give to their kids or grandchildren to buy their property now. So rather than saying, well, wait until I die, they're saying, well, have the money now. And in fact, there's another advantage to that, in that if they live for 7 more years, that gift to them would be tax-free anyway. So it's reducing the value of their estate, on which the kids would have to pay inheritance tax before they even get hold of the money to buy their property. So I think it's a good idea. What's the difference between a mortgage and an equity release? Well, they're similar in a way. It's a loan, right? Equity release is a loan secured on your house. But unlike a mortgage, they're not going to look at your income and means test it and look at whether you can afford it and that sort of thing. They're just going to give you the money based on the value of your property. Obviously, they're not going to give you 100% of the value of your property, probably more like 25-30% of the value of your property. So if you've got a property of a million, you could easily pull out £250,000 to give to your children to buy properties, and they're not looking at the affordability of that. Now, the interest is either rolled up, it just accumulates, it just compounds, or you can pay the interest. So a lot of people say, oh, the interest is going to compound and it will take away all your house value. No, of course not. You can pay the interest if you want, and you can pay the loan off if you want. You can sell the property. There's usually a penalty in the first few years, as with all mortgages, but it's not a binding thing for life. They're not going to take your house. I mean, obviously they've worked out that if the interest rolls up, there'll be enough there when that person dies to pay the loan off. So they're not idiots. They're not just to give the money and then let the interest exceed the value of the property. But if they're remortgaging and they're 60, 70 years old with limited income, it's going to be difficult, because they'll say, well, we'll only give you a short-term loan where the repayments could be quite high on that. So equity releases become a popular way of raising money, not only for kids and their properties, but also for doing repairs, fixing the roof, just enjoying life a bit more. A lot of people are sitting in their houses in the winter frightened to switch the heating on. They're living in one room with some little heater, shivering in blankets and onesies and hot water bottles under their tummies. It's ridiculous. So why not take that? All that money is in their houses. There's tremendous wealth in their houses, and this is what the government are after now. I think they're going to go after the people with the broadest shoulders, to give to the people with the narrow shoulders that didn't take the risks of starting a business, didn't take that, save money and buy a property when they were young, all these things. Now, I know a lot of people are not in the position to buy. I know properties have gone up a lot, and young people, particularly now, they're looking at 10, 15 times their income to buy a property. Whereas when I started, you could buy a property with, say, 2.5 times your average income and get onto some property ladder, and they were going up fast and that sort of thing. So I know things are different. I know it's harder for young people. I get that, okay? But there were people of my generation that didn't bother to do that. They just got a council flat or a house, and even when they were given the chance of buying that property, they said, no, I'll let the council, because I don't want to do the repairs, I don't want to do this and that. But other people bought their council houses and became homeowners, okay? And now Kier Starmer, Rachel Reeves could go after you. They could go after you. Okay, so watch out for higher capital gains tax. This is a tax paid on the profit when you've sold a property or a business, or you've sold shares. So you've risked your money, you put the work in, and then the taxman at the end said, we want our share. They're like the mafia coming after you for their share of your business. They don't do anything for it, they just want their share, or their fair share as they call it. So do watch out. I'm sorry this is a bit of a rant on a Friday, but I feel so angry about this when they say that people who've got the broadest shoulders must pay their fair share. Higher rate taxpayers are already paying more than their fair share. More of the tax is paid by higher rate taxpayers and the wealthy than people on lower incomes. People on lower incomes don't even start paying tax until they've earned £12,750. And a lot of those people are earning so little that their income is topped up with benefits. Okay, so now the reason they're saying this is because before the election they said, well, there won't be any tax rises, but now they're saying there's this black hole in the public finances that suddenly has appeared from nowhere. Okay, now the key word is public finances. They're not private finances, not hidden. They had access to all this information as they were the opposition party. Now they're saying, oh, there's this 20 billion black hole. So where did that 20 billion go, Rishi? Oh, maybe it's down the back of the sofa. Hold on a second. Oh, here it is. It's down the back of the sofa. It's falling out my pocket. No, that's nonsense. They knew about it, but they're using this black hole to now say, oh, we weren't going to raise taxes, but now we'll have to raise taxes. Do they take the public for idiots or what? I just don't know. So watch out for those taxes. Inheritance tax is a terrible tax. It's taking money from people who've worked hard all their life. They've built up their wealth, and when they want to pass it on to their children, again, the taxman comes out and says, I want some of it. Now, they don't take it all because there are allowances before you start paying this, £325,000 per person. But you can structure things in a way to reduce or even wipe out inheritance taxes through proper will planning, having the properties, properties that are owned, it's structured in the right way. Instead of joint tenancies, maybe tenancies in common. You can also use trust, just like the wealthy do. Duke of Westminster, the royal family, people of that ilk. But even ordinary people can use trust. It's just that there's little known about trust. That is the problem. So if you need any help with any of these things, with trust, with equity release, or just tax problems, I work with a tax team that gives people a free consultation. They can help you. They've helped lots of people. They've helped me. They even helped my parents. So I would definitely drop me a line, charles@charleskelly.net. Sorry it's been a bit of a rant again, but I do get angry with this. This is like becoming my Friday rant. I'll get back to non-rant things next week. But until then, have a great evening, have a great weekend ahead. Bye for now. This is Charles Kelly Money Tips. Thank you.